The occurrence of gender-based violence during a disaster or any kind of humanitarian crisis is well documented. And it's something that we all need to be concerned about here in the preparation community. So, in this video, we're going to talk about one of the most overlooked preps and possibly one of the most important preps for girls, for women, for your wives, your daughters, your sisters, your nieces, whoever it may be. This is one of the things that a lot of people might not actually have their hands on when it comes to adding a prep to your inventory that could be the difference of becoming a target or not. Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and today we're going to talk about what may be one of the most overlooked and possibly one of the most important preps that you can add to your inventory if you're a woman, if you're a girl, if you have a wife, a sister, a daughter, a niece, anyone that fits the bill as being female in your group or in your family. This is something that could be very important in an SHTF scenario. It's not often talked about, however, it is well documented in the sense of gender-based violence happening during disasters. And when we're talking about an SHTF scenario, that's exactly what we mean. A wide-scale disaster that produces chaos and results in something in the sense of a without rule of law scenario. So, if you're prepping for SHTF scenarios and you have at least somebody in the sense of a girl or a woman or a female in your life anywhere, then hit the subscribe button below, because yes, I'm not going to give advice about feminine products when it comes to things that I know nothing about, but I will put out some advice that are basic concepts that are often overlooked that might help save the life of somebody you care about very deeply in the future, okay? And really quick, I just want to say thank you to Unique Flags Company. They sent me this awesome Magic Prepper flag you see here in the background. They just reached out and said, hey, we dig the channel. We were hoping we could make you a flag. I said, sure, I'm not going to say no to an awesome flag. And it finally arrived, and I think it is legit. So if you want to check them out, I'll leave a link in the description in the pinned comment below. Now, when it comes to trying to protect people that matter the most to you, and those people happen to be female, gender-based violence escalates during times of disaster and times of trouble because perpetrators will abuse with impunity, okay? They know that there's not going to be consequences in the same sense as what happens when rule of law is existent. So because of that, violence against women escalates, and you can look at reports when it comes to places that are war-torn. You can look at reports what happens to refugees during their period of trying to find out where they're going to end up next. And when people are separated or lost or lose their network and their community, they often become vulnerable. And that's when these terrible atrocities can occur. And in an SHTF scenario, you have to understand, are going to be very similar in the sense of what that's going to feel like. Nobody's going to be there to help you. There's not going to be anybody to call. And it's very possible that your network and your community, even your MAG or some of your closest relatives, might fall apart during the chaos and the turmoil that causes said SHTF scenario, okay? So, that being said, one of the most important preps that I picked up some of today that I wanted to share with you all to get some ideas. Yes, I have daughters, and I am concerned about their safety if there ever is some kind of a disaster because of the fact that there is a escalation of violence towards women or anybody who is female during a disaster, and that needs to be a consideration for me and my family when it comes to our preparations, okay? So what I did and what you should think about is the fact that deception is the key to survival in many ways during SHTF, especially when you know somebody has a better chance of being targeted due to something like their gender. And all I did was go to our local thrift store and bought some obvious boys' clothing for my daughters, just in case we find ourselves in a scenario where we're ever not able to stay at our home and we have to hit the road, and it basically behooves us to disguise our children as being a different gender, at least for the people who are thinking about targeting somebody based on that reasoning, okay? So definitely not something that's fun to talk about, definitely not something that we should all, want to have to worry about, but unfortunately the reality of the world is that this is already happening in third world countries and war-torn fronts. It's happening to people all over the world right now. And so if there is a grid down SHTF without rule of law scenario, you have to at least prepare for the concept that somebody like your wife or your daughter or your sister or your niece or somebody close to you who's female could be targeted just solely based on that factor. So I bought some boys' clothes for one of my daughters. This is awesome because it was at a thrift store and this shirt was $1.50. So when you're buying things that are basically useless, unless you find yourself in a scenario like an SHTF disaster, make sure you don't spend premium dollars on it. Get used clothing, go to a thrift store, buy something that's not going to cost a lot that you could literally take back there and give back to those people to try to make another couple bucks if they're able to, and have it on hand for that off chance you might need it. And honestly, one thing that I looked for that, could be something that might help you with this whole situation is that this shirt specifically even says tough guy on it, okay? I know that sounds ridiculous, but honestly, we have to think about things in a very primitive mindset when it comes to SHTF and the type of people who are going to be opportunists when it comes to hurting other people. And they're not going to be the most intelligent people in the entire community. And something as basic as just saying tough guy on the shirt might be the difference of them not looking too much harder into the situation. Just putting that out there. Similar to one of my other daughters, we got her a Mummy's Little Man shirt. Now, this conversation might be uncomfortable if you want to talk about it in the sense of being very progressive with your gender ideology. But in the sense of a disaster and an emergency scenario where obviously it's out there. I will link documents and I will link a website down below in the description as well as in the pinned comment for you guys to see some of this documentation regarding the fact that gender-based violence in a crisis and a disaster situation does exist, and it is skewed towards women specifically. So if you have people that you care about, or you are a woman and you're worried about your own safety, this is a very low budget investment that can definitely make the difference of becoming a target or not in an SHTF scenario. And as you can see, this shirt right here, $1.50, okay? These pants, $1.50. So basically both outfits that I purchased today for my daughters, $3 a piece. I spent a total of $6. And for $6, if there's a wide-scale emergency, that means we have to leave our home, and that means people are out on the streets doing all the things that we know marauders might try to do. This could be the difference of them becoming targets. This could be the difference of a scout looking ahead at to what's happening, seeing me and my family, and reporting back about a man and some girls or a man and some boys. And the difference of what the risk factor there would be and what the reward factor there would be might change just solely based on an intelligence. So, honestly, do you have men's style clothing for all the women in your family? Do the women in your family have men's style clothing? Keep in mind, those people are not going to fit in your clothes. My wife can't wear my clothes. I'm 6'3" and 210 pounds. She's not going to be able to just jump into one of my shirts and pairs of pants and pretend to be a dude and actually pull it off, or actually be able to wear the clothes at all in a comfortable way that's going to be efficient for whatever we're dealing with. So you can't just assume you're going to throw them in your clothes. Most of the clothes we have for the girls are very girly because of course that's what they want to wear and that's what they like to wear and dress up and whatever. But at the same time, it's good to have some of this stuff on hand. You got to keep it in mind, okay? These are things we don't think about very often. These are things that are uncomfortable in some ways, but they can be the difference. So, just wanted to bring this to your attention. I thought it'd be something easy to share. I also thought that going to the thrift store and spending barely any money on this, and this being the difference of possibly having your sister, your daughter become a target during SHTF, is definitely worth $1.50, okay? Definitely worth $3. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? You return the clothes to the thrift store when they're not their size anymore or when you don't need them anymore, and a place that probably operates as a nonprofit and hopefully donates to some sort of charity they're involved with gets their stuff back to sell once again. Very, very low risk, but a huge reward if things actually escalated to a point where people are acting in that manner. So I felt this was important. Like I said, I'm not going to branch out into things that I'm not an expert on. So Feminine hygiene products are not going to be reviewed here. I'm sorry. I'll do my best, though, to bring information that's pertinent to anyone who's worried about preparedness. And when it comes to something like women or girls, like I said in the title, because for me, it's my girls that I'm worried about, that is something that we need to consider. And I thought would be interesting to bring up because I don't see a lot of people talking about it very often. So, just want to bring that to your attention. Please leave comments below about some of the preparations you've made to protect the family and the loved ones in your group that you want to maintain their safety and health and everything during a crisis. And let us know if there's any other advice you have specifically for women and girls to be better prepared for SHTF scenarios without finding themselves in a bad situation. That could help save somebody's life one day in the future. So please leave those comments. I really appreciate all the input I get here on this channel. And I want to say thank you all so much for helping this channel grow and for getting it to the point that it's at now. And I'll try to do my very best to keep giving you guys as much information as possible. So without anything else to say about what might be one of the most important preps for all the women in your life, that's going to be it for Magic Prepper.